Richard Collins looked out of the ship's window at the alien world below. The planet was enormous, almost twice the size of Earth, with purple skies and silver cities that seemed to sparkle like jewels. The UES Freedom had traveled for 3 months to reach this place, and now they were finally here. "Ambassador, we're receiving a signal from the planet," said Captain Lisa Morgan, her voice steady despite the nervousness everyone felt. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens, and everyone knew how important it was. Collins turned away from the window and straightened his uniform. Behind him stood Dr. Helen Brooks, the ship's top scientist, and 14 other crew members. Half of them were women, including the captain herself. All of them were excited and nervous about what came next. "Let's go make history," Collins said, trying to sound confident. The shuttle ride down to the planet's surface was smooth but tense. The alien city grew larger as they descended, its strange architecture unlike anything humans had ever built. The buildings rose like twisted metal trees, reaching toward the purple sky. When they landed, a group of aliens waited for them. The Corvins looked like tall, pale humans with extra arms and no hair. Their skin had a bluish tint, and their eyes were completely black. The leader wore robes covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change. "I am High Executor Vexthol," the alien said in perfect English, though his voice had a strange echo. "You are the representatives of the species called humans." Collins stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Yes, I am Ambassador Richard Collins. We come in peace, hoping to begin friendly relations between our peoples." The alien's black eyes moved over the human group, stopping when he saw the women. His expression changed, and he spoke to his companions in their own language. The sounds were harsh and guttural. "There is a problem," Vexthol said finally. "Your delegation includes females. This is not acceptable. In Corvin society, females do not participate in important matters. They are property, not decision-makers." Captain Morgan stepped forward, her jaw tight. "Sir, in human society, men and women are equal. These women are highly skilled officers and scientists. They have every right to be here." The aliens looked shocked. Some of them made sounds that might have been laughter, but it sounded mean and cold. Vexthol's expression became angry. "You dare bring property to speak for your species. This is a grave insult to our ways. The females must leave immediately, or there will be consequences." Collins felt his heart racing. This was going wrong very quickly. "High Executor, please understand. In our culture, women and men work together as equals. Captain Morgan commands this ship. Dr. Brooks is our leading expert on alien biology. We cannot simply send them away." "Cannot, or will not?" Vexthol asked, his voice dangerous. Morgan took another step forward. "We will not. I am the captain of this ship, and I will represent my people where I see fit. Human women are not property. We are free beings with the same rights as any man." The silence that followed was terrifying. The Corvin guards reached for weapons at their belts. The human delegation moved closer together, sensing danger. Vexthol spoke in his own language again, and more aliens appeared, surrounding the humans. Collins noticed that all the aliens were male. He had not seen a single female Corvin since they arrived. "You have insulted our most sacred traditions," Vexthol said slowly. "In our empire, such disrespect cannot go unpunished. The females have proven they do not know their place. They must be taught." Dr. Brooks spoke up, trying to sound calm. "We mean no disrespect to your culture, but we ask that you respect ours as well. Surely we can find common ground." "Common ground?" Vexthol laughed, and the sound was frightening. "You primitive creatures think you can teach us about proper order. We have ruled this galaxy for thousands of years. Species far older and wiser than yours have learned to respect our ways." Collins felt everything slipping away. "Please, let's discuss this calmly. We're here to build friendship between our peoples. Violence will help no one." "There will be no more discussion," Vexthol declared. "Justice will be served. Let this be a lesson to your entire species about the price of disrespecting the Corvan Empire." The guards moved forward, their weapons drawn. The Corvan guards grabbed the human women before anyone could react. Captain Morgan tried to fight back, but 3 aliens held her tightly. Dr. Brooks stumbled as they pulled her forward. The other women in the group cried out in fear and anger. "Stop this," Colin shouted, stepping toward Vexthol. "What are you doing?" "Teaching your species a lesson," the alien replied coldly. "These females have shown disrespect to our empire. They must face justice." Lieutenant Jack Barnes moved toward his captain, but a guard pointed a weapon at his chest. The weapon looked like a metal rod that glowed with blue energy. Barnes froze, his hands raised, fury burning in his eyes. "You can't do this," Collins said desperately. "They're diplomats. They have protection under galactic law." Vexthol laughed again. "Galactic law? We are the galactic law. For 3,000 years, the Corvan Empire has ruled these stars. Every species learns to respect our ways, or they face the consequences." The aliens forced the women to their knees in the center of the room. Morgan looked up at Vexthol with defiance still burning in her eyes. "You're making a terrible mistake. Humanity will not forget this." "Humanity will learn from this," Vexthol corrected. "Your species will understand that in our empire, females know their place. They stay silent. They serve. They do not speak in important matters." Dr. Brooks spoke quietly to the other women, trying to calm them, but everyone could see the fear in her eyes. The aliens brought out more weapons, arranging them in a line. Collins felt sick to his stomach. "Please, I'm begging you. Take me instead. I'm the ambassador. If someone must pay for this misunderstanding, let it be me." "There is no misunderstanding," Vexthol said. "Your females insulted us. They refused to leave when told. They spoke when they should have been silent. In our law, this means death." The other human men tried to move forward, but the guards kept them back. Barnes looked like he wanted to attack the aliens with his bare hands. The communications officer, Lieutenant Sam Cooper, was secretly recording everything on his small device. "This is murder," Collins said, his voice shaking with anger. "Cold-blooded murder of innocent people." "This is justice," Vexthol replied, "and it will be seen across the galaxy. Every species will know what happens when they fail to respect Corvan authority." The aliens activated their weapons. The blue glow grew brighter. Captain Morgan spoke clearly, her voice carrying across the room. "Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them we died standing for what we believe in." "Lisa, no," Barnes whispered, tears running down his face. The execution was swift and brutal. One by one, the women fell. The human men screamed in rage and horror, but the guards kept them back. Collins dropped to his knees, sobbing. Barnes roared like a wounded animal, fighting against the aliens holding him. When it was over, 15 women lay dead on the alien floor. The room was silent except for the sound of human men crying and the harsh breathing of the Corvan guards. Vexthol stepped over the bodies without a second look. "Now you understand the price of disrespect. Your ship will leave immediately. You will return to your space and tell your leaders what happens to those who challenge the Corvan Empire." Collins could barely speak. They were innocent. They did nothing wrong. They existed as females who forgot their place. That was crime enough. Vexthol turned to his guards. "Escort these humans back to their ship. Make sure they understand they are never welcome here again." As the surviving humans were forced toward the exit, Barnes managed to break free for a moment. He ran to Captain Morgan's body and knelt beside her. "I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm so sorry." The guards pulled him away roughly. The last thing Collins saw was Dr. Brooks' face, peaceful even in death. These women had died for believing in equality, for refusing to be treated as property. The journey back to the ship was a blur of rage and grief. As the Freedom lifted off from the planet's surface, Collins knew that everything had changed. Humanity had just lost 15 of its best and brightest for no reason other than being women who dared to stand as equals. The war was about to begin. The news hit Earth like a hammer blow. When the UES Freedom arrived home 3 weeks after the massacre, the entire planet waited in silence for Ambassador Collins to speak. He stood at the podium, his face pale and aged from grief. Behind him were the 14 surviving male crew members, all looking broken. 15 brave women died today, Collins began, his voice barely steady. Captain Lisa Morgan, Dr. Helen Brooks, and 13 others were murdered by the Corvan Empire simply for being women. They died for standing up for human values. They died for refusing to be treated as property. The silence in the assembly hall was deafening. Then someone in the crowd began to cry. Soon, others joined in. The sound grew into a wave of grief and rage that swept across the building. President Karen Davis stood up slowly. Her own daughter had wanted to join the diplomatic mission, but stayed behind to finish her studies. The Corvan Empire has made a terrible mistake, she said, her voice carrying across the room. They think they can terrorize us into submission. They are wrong. Within hours, the videos that Lieutenant Cooper had secretly recorded were playing on every screen across human space. People watched in horror as their sisters, mothers, and daughters were murdered for the crime of being equal. The footage showed Captain Morgan's final words, Dr. Brooks' calm courage, and the brutal efficiency of Corvan justice. Admiral Scott Williams was in his office when he saw the videos. He was a career military man, trained to stay calm under pressure. But when he watched Lisa Morgan die, he threw his coffee cup against the wall. His aide found him an hour later, staring out the window at the stars. Sir, your orders? The aide asked carefully. Williams turned around, and the aide stepped back. The admiral's eyes were filled with a cold fury unlike anything he had ever seen. Mobilize everything. Every ship, every soldier, every resource we have. The Corvans want a war. We'll give them one they'll never forget. Across human space, the reaction was the same everywhere. On Mars, factory workers stopped their machines for a moment of silence. On Luna Base, soldiers lined up to volunteer for combat duty. On the mining colonies, workers began converting their equipment for military use. Dr. Richard Hayes received the emergency call at his research lab on Titan. He was humanity's leading expert in military technology, but his current projects were focused on peaceful space exploration. That changed instantly. Cancel everything, he told his team. We're switching to weapons research. I want every scientist in this facility working on ways to kill Corvans. We have 3,000 years of technology gap to close, and we're going to do it in months. His assistant looked shocked. Dr. Hayes was known as a peaceful man who hated violence. Sir, are you sure? Hayes showed her the video of the executions. Those monsters killed Helen Brooks. She was my student once, brilliant and kind. They murdered her for being a woman. Yes, I'm sure. General Peter Clark was already planning. His Special Forces base became a hive of activity as soldiers prepared for a war unlike anything humans had ever fought. These weren't just enemy soldiers they would be facing. These were aliens with superior technology and thousands of years of combat experience. Sir, how do we fight something like this? Asked Colonel Frank Thompson, his top commander. Clark studied the intelligence reports from the Freedom. We do what humans do best. We adapt. We improvise. We refuse to die quietly. The Corvans follow rigid military doctrine. We'll break every rule in the book. On the industrial worlds, the transformation was remarkable. Captain Joe Miller commanded the asteroid mining station New Olympus. Within days of the news, his civilian miners were stripping every valuable mineral they could find and shipping it to Earth's military contractors. My daughter wanted to be a starship captain like Lisa Morgan, Miller told his workers. These alien bastards made sure that won't happen. But we're going to make sure their daughters get the chance. The Corvan Empire had ruled through fear for millennia. They expected humanity to submit, to accept their place in the galactic hierarchy. Instead, they had awakened something they didn't understand. Humanity wasn't just angry. Humanity was beyond anger. 15 women had died for equality, and now an entire species would pay the price. The war machine of Earth was awakening, and it would not stop until justice was served. The first real battle happened 6 months after the executions. Admiral Williams commanded a fleet of 30 ships, humanity's finest warships, heading toward the Proxima Station. Intelligence reports said the Corvins had built a base there with only a small defense force. Williams stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Defiance, watching the alien station grow larger on the screens. "All ships, prepare for combat," he ordered through the communication system. The battle began badly. The Corvin ships appeared out of nowhere, moving faster than anything human sensors could track. Their weapons cut through human shields like they were made of paper. The first human ship to die was the UES Liberty, carrying 200 crew members. "Shields failing," shouted Lieutenant Danny Murphy from his station. "Their weapons are unlike anything we've seen." Williams watched in horror as ship after ship was destroyed. The Corvin vessels moved like dancers, avoiding human weapons easily while striking with deadly precision. In 20 minutes, 22 human ships were gone. "All ships retreat," Williams ordered, his heart breaking. "Fall back to Earth immediately." Only 8 ships made it home. Williams had to write letters to the families of 1,500 dead soldiers. The families of the executed women read his report and knew their daughters had died for nothing if humanity couldn't fight back. But something good came from the disaster. Chief Engineer Maria Rodriguez had been watching the battle from the UES Defiance. She was one of the few survivors who had studied the alien ships closely. "Admiral, they're not invincible," she told Williams after they returned to Earth. "Their ships are faster and stronger, but they follow patterns. They expect us to fight like they do, in straight lines with heavy ships." Williams looked tired and beaten. "What are you suggesting?" "We stop fighting like them. We use smaller ships, hit and run attacks. Guerrilla warfare. My team has ideas for weapons that work differently than theirs." Meanwhile, Dr. Susan Wright was making discoveries in her laboratory. She had studied the alien bodies recovered from the battle, the first Corvin specimens humans had ever seen. "They're not like us," she explained to the military leaders. "Their biology is completely different. They're stronger and faster than humans, but they have weaknesses too." General Clark leaned forward, interested. "What kind of weaknesses?" "Their immune system is very specialized. It's perfect for their homeworlds, but vulnerable to certain types of biological weapons. Also, they seem to have trouble adapting to unexpected situations." Dr. Wright showed them brain scans of the dead aliens. "They're intelligent, but their thinking is very structured. They don't handle chaos well. If we can create enough confusion, it might give us an advantage." Colonel Thompson was already planning. "My special forces could use this information. Small teams, unexpected attacks, create chaos in their ranks." The real breakthrough came from Captain Joe Miller's mining operation. His teams had found unusual metals in the asteroids, materials that seemed to absorb Corvin energy weapons. "Look at this," Miller showed the scientists. The metal was black and seemed to shift like liquid. Corvin shots just disappear into it. It's like the metal eats their energy. Dr. Hayes took samples back to his lab. Within weeks, his team had developed new armor and ship hulls using the strange metal. They called it absorption steel. "This changes everything," Hayes told Admiral Williams. "We can build ships that can survive their weapons, at least for a while." The real test came when Colonel Thompson led the first Special Forces mission behind enemy lines. His team used small ships covered in absorption steel to sneak onto a Corvin supply depot. The mission was a success. Thompson's soldiers destroyed the depot and captured valuable alien technology. More importantly, they proved that Corvins could be beaten if humans fought smart instead of strong. "They expect big fleet battles," Thompson reported after the mission. They don't know how to handle small teams hitting them from unexpected directions. Slowly, humanity began to understand how to fight this war. It wouldn't be won with massive ships and traditional tactics. It would be won with creativity, surprise, and the human ability to adapt to any situation. The Corvins had superior technology, but humans had something they didn't expect: the willingness to break every rule of warfare to win. The war changed completely 1 year after the executions. Humanity stopped trying to fight the Corvins with big fleets and instead began hitting them where they didn't expect it. Commander Tony Garcia led the first successful raid on a Corvin supply depot at Delta Centauri. Garcia's team used 3 modified cargo ships covered in absorption steel. The ships looked old and broken, but their engines were the newest human technology. They approached the alien depot pretending to be space merchants. "Corvin vessel, we have rare minerals to trade," Garcia transmitted in broken alien language. His team had spent months learning to speak like the other species the Corvins enslaved. The Corvin commander, Veltar, was suspicious but greedy. The depot needed supplies, and his superiors would be angry if he missed a profitable trade. "Approach slowly, cargo ship. Any sudden moves, and we will destroy you." Garcia's ships moved closer to the massive alien station. The depot was the size of a city, with dozens of Corvin warships docked around it. But most of the crews were on shore leave, relaxing in the station's entertainment areas. "Now," Garcia whispered into his communicator. The 3 cargo ships suddenly split open like flowers. Hidden inside each one was a small but deadly warship. Garcia's team had created Trojan horses in space, hiding their real ships inside fake ones. The human ships poured out laser fire and missiles into the surprised Corvin fleet. The aliens scrambled to respond, but 3 of their ships exploded before they could raise shields. Garcia's team targeted the fuel storage areas, causing massive explosions that lit up space. "All human forces, hit the depot now," Garcia ordered. His ships swarmed around the station like angry wasps. They used the confusion to land boarding teams on the depot itself. The Corvin guards were tough fighters, but they had never faced desperate humans fighting for revenge. The raid lasted only 2 hours, but the damage was enormous. 15 Corvin ships destroyed, the depot crippled, and tons of alien technology captured. Garcia's team lost only 1 ship and 12 brave soldiers. Meanwhile, Captain Amy Johnson was becoming a legend among both humans and aliens. She had been on Earth during the diplomatic mission, working as a test pilot. After the executions, she volunteered for the most dangerous missions. Johnson's ship, the UES Ghost, was specially built for stealth raids. It was small, fast, and nearly invisible to alien sensors. She used it to attack Corvin patrols and supply lines across their territory. Target identified. Her navigator, Lieutenant Chris Hansen, reported. "Corvin transport convoy. 3 ships." Johnson smiled coldly. These transports carried weapons to Corvin colonies. Each ship destroyed meant fewer weapons to kill humans. "Begin attack run." The Ghost appeared behind the convoy like its name suggested. Johnson's team fired precisely, disabling the transport engines without destroying the ships completely. They boarded the vessels, took what they needed, and left the crews stranded in space. The Corvins called her the Phantom because she seemed to appear from nowhere and vanish just as quickly. Johnson left messages on each ship she attacked. For Captain Morgan and Dr. Brooks. Humanity remembers. But the most shocking change was how humans fought. They stopped using traditional military tactics completely. Admiral Williams approved plans that would have been considered war crimes before the executions. Civilian ships were converted into weapons. Asteroid mining equipment became kinetic bombardment systems. Even passenger liners were turned into hospital ships that secretly carried commando teams. Dr. Hayes' laboratories produced weapons the Corvins had never seen before. Virus bombs that attacked alien computer systems. Gravity mines that crushed ships like tin cans. Nanorobots that ate through alien armor. "We're not fighting fair," General Clark told his officers. "Fair died when they murdered our women. Now we fight to win, whatever it takes." The Corvins found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't understand. Human ships appeared where they shouldn't be possible. Human weapons worked in ways that violated known physics. Human tactics made no sense by any military standard. For 3,000 years, the Corvin Empire had conquered species that fought like them. They had never faced an enemy that refused to follow the rules of war. Humanity was teaching them a lesson they would never forget. 2 years into the war, Dr. Susan Wright made the discovery that would change everything. Working in her secret laboratory on Mars, she had been studying Corvin biology for months. The breakthrough came when she examined blood samples from captured aliens. "My God," she whispered, staring at the data on her screen. Her assistant, Dr. Bob Reeves, looked over her shoulder. "What is it, Susan?" Wright pointed to the genetic analysis. The Corvins share a common ancestor with 6 other alien species in their empire. Their immune systems are almost identical. That means a virus designed for one species could affect them all. Reeves finished, understanding immediately. Wright nodded grimly. "Not just affect them. Kill them. I can create a biological weapon that targets their specific genetic markers. But Susan, this goes against everything we believe about warfare." Dr. Wright stared at the photos on her desk. Pictures of the 15 executed women, including her friend Dr. Helen Brooks. They murdered innocent women for being women. This isn't about our beliefs anymore. This is about survival. Within 3 months, Wright's team had developed the virus. They called it Justice. It was invisible, spread through air and contact, and lethal only to species with Corvin-type genetics. Humans and most other aliens would be completely safe. While Wright worked on her deadly project, the war in space was turning. Commander Steve Roberts led the most daring raid yet, an attack on the main Corvin shipyards at Theta Cygni. Roberts commanded a fleet of 50 captured alien ships, disguised to look like Corvin vessels. His crews had practiced for months to speak and act like different alien species in the Corvin Empire. Remember, Roberts told his captains before the attack, "We're traders from the Gok system bringing metal ore to the shipyards. Act bored and tired, like you've done this trip 1,000 times." The fake convoy approached the massive shipyards. The facility was enormous, with hundreds of docked ships and thousands of workers. It could build 50 warships at once and was protected by a fleet of guard vessels. Convoy 449. "You're early," the traffic controller said in Corvin language. Roberts' comm officer, Lieutenant Paul Fisher, had practiced the alien language for months. "Heavy cargo. Wanted to arrive before the scheduled maintenance window." He replied perfectly. The convoy moved slowly through the shipyard's outer defenses. Roberts watched nervously as Corvin patrol ships escorted them toward the docking areas. His plan depended on getting close to the main construction facilities. "All ships, execute Ghost Protocol now," Roberts ordered when they were in position. Suddenly, 50 cargo ships opened up with hidden weapons. The shipyard's defenses were caught completely off guard. Explosions erupted across the facility as human forces targeted power generators, construction equipment, and docked warships. But the real shock came when boarding teams reached the administrative center. Captain Nancy White led her soldiers through the chaos, fighting toward the main command room. "Target acquired," she reported as they captured the facility's commander. But then her team found something unexpected in the command center. "Commander, you need to see this," Sergeant Tim Bailey called out. In a private room behind the main office, they found High Executor Vexthol himself, the alien who had ordered the execution of the human women. He was alone, apparently hiding from the battle. White looked at the alien leader who had caused so much pain. Vexthol stared back with his black eyes, showing no fear even in defeat. "Take him alive," White ordered her soldiers. "He's too valuable to kill here." The capture of Vexthol sent shockwaves through the Corvin Empire. For the first time in their history, their highest military leader was a prisoner. The psychological impact was devastating. Meanwhile, other slave species in the Empire began to notice something important. The humans were winning. The mighty Corvan Empire, which had ruled for thousands of years, was being beaten by a species they had dismissed as primitive. On the planet Siroth, the Hicks people started sabotaging Corvan supply lines. On Baltus Prime, the Tang species refused to work in weapon factories. Across the Empire, revolution was beginning. The tide of war was turning, and the galaxy was about to change forever. With their main leader captured and their shipyards destroyed, the Corvan Empire began to fall apart. Admiral Paul Martins now commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled, over 300 ships from Earth and the colonies. But these weren't just human ships anymore. The Hicks people had joined the fight, bringing 50 fast attack ships. The Tang species contributed their powerful battle cruisers. Even the peaceful Goks had sent medical ships and engineers. All of them had one goal: destroy the empire that had enslaved them for centuries. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Martinez. He spoke into the communication system. Today we end 3,000 years of Corvan tyranny. Today we free the galaxy. The combined fleet moved toward Zethera Prime, the heart of the Corvan Empire. The planet was heavily defended with orbital stations, weapon platforms, and the last 100 ships of the Corvan Navy. But humanity had a secret weapon. Dr. Wright's virus, Justice, had been secretly spread through Corvan trade routes for weeks. Alien janitors and maintenance workers, all enslaved species, had placed the weapon in air systems across the Empire. On Zethera Prime, Corvan soldiers began falling sick. At first, they thought it was just a normal illness, but then entire barracks fell silent. Command centers went dark. The Corvan space defense grid shut down as the operators died at their posts. "Sir, we're getting no response from the orbital defenses," reported Captain Beth Adams from the UES Vengeance. "It's like the entire planet has gone quiet." Martinez looked at the massive alien world on his screen. The cities still glowed with lights, but there was an eerie silence from the military installations. "All ships, proceed with caution. Begin orbital bombardment of military targets only. Avoid civilian areas." The battle for Zethera Prime was unlike anything in galactic history. The Corvan fleet fought desperately, but half their crews were dead or dying from the virus. Human and allied ships swarmed around the planet like angry bees. Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Adams led the ground assault on the Imperial Palace. Her Marines landed in armored shuttles while the space battle raged overhead. As they fought through the palace corridors, they found many rooms filled with dead Corvans. Area secured, minimal resistance, Adams reported as her team reached the main throne room. The massive chamber was empty except for one figure sitting on the crystal throne. Empress Kethara, the supreme ruler of the Corvan Empire, sat alone. She was old, even for a Corvan, and her hands shook as she spoke. "Human warriors," she said in accented English, "I surrender the Empire to you. We have been defeated." Adams kept her weapon ready. "Where are your guards? Your generals?" "Dead. All dead. Your weapon has killed them." The Empress coughed, and Adams saw blood on her lips. She was dying too. "The virus," Adams realized. "You're not immune either." "No, none of the ruling class were. Only the worker species will survive." The Empress laughed bitterly. "For 3,000 years, we enslaved others. Now our slaves will inherit the galaxy." While the palace fell, the space battle was ending. The last Corvan ships surrendered or were destroyed. Commander Garcia led boarding parties that captured the alien admirals who were still alive. In orbit around Zethera Prime, Admiral Martinez received a message from Earth. The families of the executed women had sent representatives to witness the end of the war. Mrs. Roberts, Captain Morgan's mother, stood on the bridge of the UES Freedom, the same ship that had carried the diplomatic mission 3 years ago. Through the window, she could see the city where her daughter had died. "It's over," she said quietly. "Lisa, Helen, all of you, We got justice for you. The Corvan Empire was finished. Across the galaxy, the last loyal Corvan forces surrendered or died. The virus had been too effective. It killed every member of the ruling species within weeks. But humanity wasn't finished yet. There was still one more act in this drama. High Executor Vexthol waited in a human prison ship, and the galaxy would see what happened to those who murdered innocents. Justice was coming for the alien who had started it all. The trial of High Executor Vexthol was held on New Geneva, a space station built specifically for the event. Representatives from every species in the former Corvan Empire came to witness justice. The courtroom was huge, with screens broadcasting the trial across the galaxy. Judge Rebecca Morgan, Captain Lisa Morgan's sister, presided over the trial. She had volunteered for the position, saying someone from the victim's family should deliver justice. Beside her sat judges from 6 different alien species, all former slaves of the Empire. Vexthol sat in a special containment field, his black eyes showing no emotion. He wore simple gray clothes instead of his ceremonial robes. The alien leader looked smaller now, somehow less frightening than he had 3 years ago. High Executor Vexthol, Judge Morgan began, her voice carrying clearly through the room. You stand accused of the murder of 15 human women, crimes against sentient beings, and genocide against multiple species. How do you plead? Vexthol stood slowly. When he spoke, his voice was steady but tired. I plead not guilty. I followed the laws of the Corvan Empire. These were not crimes in our society. The courtroom erupted in angry voices from the audience. Humans shouted, alien species growled and clicked in their own languages. Judge Morgan banged her gavel for silence. The laws of your empire are not recognized by this court, she declared. You will be judged by universal standards of justice. For 3 weeks, the trial continued. Witnesses testified about Corvan brutality across the galaxy. Ambassador Collins, now Admiral Collins, described the executions in detail. Lieutenant Barnes spoke about watching his captain die. The families of the 15 women told the court about their daughters, mothers, and sisters. Mrs. Helen Brooks took the stand to speak about her daughter, Dr. Helen Brooks. Helen dedicated her life to understanding other species. She believed that all life was precious. She was killed for being a woman who dared to speak. The alien witnesses were even more devastating. Former slaves described centuries of oppression. They told stories of entire species enslaved, of children taken from their parents, of women treated as property across the Corvan Empire. When the evidence was presented, the verdict was swift. Judge Morgan stood to deliver the judgment, her voice echoing through the silent courtroom. High Executor Vexthol, this court finds you guilty of all charges. You ordered the execution of innocent women for the crime of being equal to men. You supported a system that enslaved billions and murdered millions. She paused, looking at the alien who had started this bloody war. However, this court will not lower itself to your level. You will not be executed. Instead, you will spend the rest of your natural life in prison, thinking about the lives you destroyed. The sentence shocked many who wanted death for the alien leader. But Judge Morgan explained, we are not Corvans. We do not kill prisoners. Justice means being better than those who wronged us. Vexthol was led away in chains. As he passed the families of the executed women, he stopped and spoke for the first time during the trial. Your species has proven stronger than ours, he said quietly. Perhaps you deserve to rule the galaxy. The aftermath of the war changed everything. The Galactic Human Federation was established, with Earth as its capital. But it wasn't human rule. It was a partnership of equals. All species, including the surviving Corvans, had equal representation. A memorial was built in space above Earth, visible from the planet's surface. 15 pillars of light reached toward the stars, each one bearing the name of a woman who died for equality. Captain Lisa Morgan, Dr. Helen Brooks, and 13 others were remembered forever. Admiral Collins, now the Federation's first president, spoke at the memorial's dedication. They died believing that all people are equal, regardless of gender or species. We've built a galaxy that honors their memory. May it last forever. The war was over. The galaxy was free. And 15 women who died for standing as equals had seen justice done.